There's a new set that just released yesterday that I think has some serious investment potential, but you are probably sleeping on it. You guys might be asleep at the switch as well. We're gonna see if they agree with me next on Cards on the Table. Hello, sports card investors, and welcome to another episode of Cards on the Table, our fast-paced talk show where we cover important and timely topics around the world of sports cards. We've got a timely one to dive into today, and joining me as always is Teapot.
Hey there, sir.
Welcome, and joining me as always is...
You're getting an upgrade.
You don't look like Doug. It is an upgrade.
It is an upgrade.
I don't have to sit next to a Kentucky fan for this show, so that's Doug's probably at home fretting as to whether Kentucky's going to make it into the tournament this year.
But you have to sit next to a superior orange team, right?
Right. This is Ben, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show, Ben.
Hey, thanks, Doug.
Happy to have you. Happy to have you.
I called you Doug.
You did call me Doug. I don't know what that was. Happy to have you on the show. Also happy to have you for this topic because yesterday a new set came out. Bowman U Football. And hear me out here. Everybody loves to go prospect chasing in baseball. We all know that the first prospects in baseball for all kinds of star players are very, very valuable. In some cases, more valuable than their actual rookie cards. Well, Bowman U Football came out last year, and it was the first time we ever had first prospect cards in football. The new Bowman U just came out yesterday, the second edition of it, and this time it got an upgrade. They now actually have licenses from all of the schools, so they're actually using school logos on the product. And now the entire set is chrome, having that nice upgraded Topps chrome finish to all of the cards. There's a lot of reasons why I really like this, but should I? Ben, we're going to start with you today. Do you believe in Bowman U Football as a future investment, or is this going to be completely overlooked by card collectors and investors?
I do, but not for the reason that you've suggested so far. I don't think that the first prospect thing is going to be a thing. They're going to put it on there. It's going to be part of the checklist, but I just don't think it matters. I think what we have with minor league baseball players is a very unique thing to the baseball market. I don't think we're going to see that go into football, into basketball, into anything else. But I'm very bullish on college cards overall. You just can't tell me that college football and college basketball are as popular as they are. And the card market is still this weak. I mean, overall, it's a fraction of the pro jerseys. I think we're going to see that sort of continue. But in general, they've got to be able to do something with this market. I think it's completely untapped. I'm hoping that this is the start of it. But overall, it's not going to be because of the first prospect thing. I don't think people care. I think it's just going to be, if you're an Alabama fan, there's going to be a lot of Alabama cards in here. I think if it's well done, I think if they're thoughtful with the checklist, I think if they have all of the star players, which will of course not include any of my Syracuse guys, but it is what it is. But they can do it right. I'm confident in Fanatics, but it's not going to be because of the first prospect thing. Strictly to baseball. Doesn't matter for anything else. That's the hill I'll die on.
So it is interesting here in the Southeast in the U.S., you get more people attending college football than you do pro football. Like here in Atlanta, everyone talks about the Bulldogs. You don't hear that much about the Falcons. And granted, the Falcons aren't great, but this phenomenon also existed when I was down in Florida. That is Gator country, or you're a Hurricane fan, or you're a Florida State fan. In most cases, well before you're a Jags fan or a Dolphins fan or a Bucks fan, right? That's kind of life in the Southeast U.S. So I have to agree with you that at some point, these college cards, you're going to have a collector base for them. I also think it's interesting that you've got so many kids getting into the sports card hobby now. I go to card shows. I see 10-year-olds, 11-year-olds, 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds, 14-year-olds roaming the show floors. Well, they're all going to be in college in another 4 to 8 years. You have to think that they may want to start collecting the cards of the players from their college. I think people are sleeping on this set. Do you agree?
I think as a collector product, it's appealing to people. Like you said, people tend to either be more of a college fan or more NFL. It's rare, I feel like, that you find somebody who's they just either like both or whatever. So there are a lot of diehard college fans. That being said, there's like 125 different colleges and universities. you kind of distribute it. It's more teams than when you have, the NFL with 30 or 32 teams, or, so it's kind of spread out. Now, that being said, I was actually surprised this is a relatively short checklist, 100 players. I thought they'd put 200, 300 players even. They did 100
It's all
players.
the big starts. It's
Yeah.
C.J. Stroud,
Yep.
Bryce Young,
Yep.
Will
So in
Will
terms of
Levis,
opening the
Anthony
product,
Richardson. Yeah.
you feel like you're going to get good name players. I'm kind of with Ben. I almost feel like I have to play this as a devil's advocate, like both sides, because I really don't know what's going to happen. I'm not a particularly big Bowman guy in terms of the baseball prospecting. I know a lot of people are very passionate about it. I think some people who dabble in both sports already, who like the Bowman prospecting, may jump into this. I just don't know how sticky it's going to be long term. Like Ben said, is the Bowman First going to translate into football? If it does, I think it's going to take a long time. Baseball already has a long history of that. Football does not. We see that football, collegiate draft products that come out for NFL players don't do very well long term. They don't hold a lot of value. So that's the piece that I'm not sure about it in terms of the long term value. But I do know that everybody's always looking for the next big thing. So there could be the big jump into this to get out in front. The one thing that's been missing over the last 2 years because of production delays is that ability to buy the card of a player before he actually becomes something, before he's played an entire season in the respective league. So in that way, if they can get out in front and give people a chance to chase something early before their flagship products and their actual rookie cards come out, that could end up having a lot of value.
Yeah, absolutely. And so here's what I'm going to say, right? First of all, this is a very inexpensive product. It's not very expensive to buy a few boxes of this and stick it away. It won't be long until Topps and Topps Chrome take over the license for football products as well. Sometime in the not so distant future, we're going to have Topps Chrome football, most likely. So if you think into the future, if you've got a quarterback who's got his Topps Chrome cards every single year coming out and his rookie cards are hot, don't you think his Topps Chrome first card might actually be even hotter? Or at least will do well.
Yeah, it's an interesting,
in the market.
if he has one definitive Bowman First card,
Right.
and he has 5,000 rookie cards,
Yep.
the Bowman First could end up holding value. I don't know.
I think it's worth a chance. It's very speculative. I'm buying some boxes. I'll tell you right now, sticking them away. It's an inexpensive product. Whether they'll actually be worth anything in the long run or not, who knows? What do you think? Let me know what you think in the comments below. We got more great topics to talk about. First of all, Teapot, what do you have your eye on in this week's auctions on pristineauction.com?
I love a good downtown. There's a Barry Sanders Black Pandora to 25 PSA 10. Beautiful card. The picture, honestly, on the site doesn't do it justice. It's a really good card.
Okay, how about you, Ben?
So I've actually been looking to add some off-the-wall oddball stuff to my collection. There's some Allen Iverson autographed sneakers.
Nice.
Silver pin on a blue toe. Would look really good on my shelf.
Yeah, and they've got Pristine Auction has their weekly auctions. Obviously, they end every weekend, but they're also doing a special basketball auction, which actually ends tonight. And in it, they have a Funko Pop of Shaquille O'Neal, signed by Shaquille O'Neal. I made a bid last week on a Barry Sanders Funko Pop. I did not win, so I put an even larger bid on a Shaquille O'Neal Funko Pop. Fingers crossed I win that tonight. If you guys want $10 free on pristineauction.com off your first order, sign up using promo code SCI. Let's get into the data dive, Teapot. This last weekend on the Market Movers channel, you did a video that might have been a little bit controversial. You actually proposed the argument that maybe Prism shouldn't be the king of modern day trading cards, and you talked about Optic and you talked about Select and other things out there. Take us through your thought process here.
Similar to the Luca presentation the week before, trying to show the data and simply ask and kind of get people's thoughts and wheels turning a little bit. I went in and I compared Prism prices to similar Optic and Select prices, and I ran an Instagram poll on my own personal Instagram. Small sample size, definitely collectors on Instagram, but it was like 73% in favor of Optic over Prism in terms of what they prefer of those two products. I think the three products, Select, Optic, and Prism, all have their strengths and weaknesses. I like action photos, so Select really appeals to me. I think the base design is really nice, and they have some sneaky good inserts and autos in that product. Optic has the rated rookie and the on-card autos, and then Prism sticker auto, but a lot of really cool looking parallels. A couple of cool examples before you guys weigh in on this, but if I look at this Patrick Mahomes, his purple crystals, the 75, sold for $18K not too long ago, back on February 7th. And if you compare that, you could have bought his black, and I think, do you have one of these? Or
I
you
do,
have
the number
auto?
25,
Yeah, and so the black Optic for $9K and the tie-dye field level for 7.5K. You could have bought both of these for less than this purple to 75, purple crystals. And these are better looking cards to me. Same thing if you jump over and you look at Tatum. Here's his Mojo in a BGS 9.5 to 25. You could have bought almost all of these other four cards, and a couple of them are Prism, for the same price. But really interesting to see a BGS 10 Pristine numbered to 25. Granted, it's pink. It's not the best looking card. Go for 1.6K, basically a tenth of what the Mojo to 25 went for. So some really interesting comparisons. It's been fun reading the comments and polarizing opinions about it.
So would you say you're off of Team Prism at this point?
You know, I love Prism.
Yeah.
I don't like that they've watered down all these products,
Yeah.
but I do think that the premium between the two doesn't always make a lot of sense. And in certain cases, I'd rather have like an Optic white sparkle than, you know, like a Prism random looking parallel.
Where are you on this, Doug? Or Ben? Ben.
What the
Ben.
heck,
See,
man?
I'm so used to Doug being over here.
Tit for tat.
Well, luckily I get to basically be Doug and argue with Teapot on this one.
I'm just glad I've never been called Doug.
Fair. I'm probably in the minority with a lot of collectors, but for me, Prism is one of sort of the bottom tier products for Panini overall.
Wow.
I think the checklist is wanting. You know, there's sticker autos. I think obviously you have the parallels, but I think the design is relatively lackluster. Checklist is poor. I think you can look at something like Optic or Select that has a lot more thoughtful inserts. I think Optic has some of the best inserts in the entire hobby. And I'm just not sure why people are so excited about it. Overall, I think when it first was introduced by Panini, people looked at it as a competitor to Topps Chrome. Optic is, in my eyes, an actual direct competitor to Topps Chrome in spirit and look. If that's what people are going for, go for that. But to be honest, whenever I think about buying a Prism rookie, I go buy the Spectra. I think
Oh,
it's,
you and your Spectra.
But
And your Spectra.
I do love Spectra.
Yeah.
You know, it's not something I'd recommend.
It's a fun product.
Ripping wax-wise,
Yeah.
but to be honest, it's a similar design,
Yep.
but also has the action photos.
Yeah.
Hobby only.
Way more short printed.
Yep, very low print run. And because the cards are a little bit thicker, they're much more difficult to grade, and they're probably going to be a little bit cheaper. I was just looking at Ja recently. I think it's like $80 or something like that, maybe even lower for the Spectra. Pop is like
120 or something.
Yeah, it's hilariously low, and then the Prism is what, like 18,000?
Yeah.
Something like that.
I don't know. People love their Prism. You guys know I famously invested into Select right before Select brought out their retail products, watered the entire thing down. I don't know. I'm just Team Prism now. Why argue with the market leader? Prism is that. I buy me some Prism right now. That's it. All right, guys, we'll be right back after this quick break. Guys, you can get all those stand-up display products, including their new amazing jersey stands that look so good. They're all available on standupdisplays.co. All right, Teapot, I'm going to go to you first with this next question. This was suggested by one of our viewers after our last episode in the YouTube comments. They wanted to know which GOATs have the most room to appreciate.
I've got a couple different picks. Two guys that I think should go up more, who I feel like are so undervalued. I don't know if they're actually going to go up or not, but that's Peyton Manning and Drew Brees.
Oh, yeah.
To me, we just had three of the top 5 quarterbacks of all time in the last 20 years or so. And there was a long time where I probably still am Team Peyton Manning. If you go back and you look at all the Super Bowls that Brady won, look, he's the undisputed career GOAT. But if I had to pick a quarterback, I know people would say it's the big game thing, but I would go back and take Manning every time, personally. I just think he was the better quarterback. His cards are like 1/20th the cost of Tom Brady's, and he doesn't have a ton of them. He does not have a lot of rookie cards. He doesn't have a lot of autos. He's got some really great refractors from the 2000s. And Brees, I just think he never really had a good defense, save a few years, and that's why he didn't win more championships. Another guy that I really like, two other guys, this is all contingent on whether or not the sport ever takes off globally, are Messi and Ronaldo. I think obviously they are the guys. They have these 1 billion followers on social media, like people just following them like crazy. And then the last one is Jackie Robinson. And I think if you look at Jackie's prices relative to Mickey Mantle, Mickey Mantle, obviously, probably the better player overall. Most people put Jackie 25 to 50, Mantle like top 10 all time, right? But some really beautiful cards that go for much, much, much less than what Mantles do from the same era. And obviously I just hear more and more Jackie Robinson's name being said
Sure.
in different areas.
Yeah.
So he, to me, is a sneaky one.
Well, he forever has a place in history
Correct.
that extends way beyond baseball,
Correct.
and in many ways a way more important place in history. So I think he's definitely an interesting one. Ben, how about you?
So from a dollar standpoint, I still think there is a lot of room for growth within like the ultra vintage market, things like the Wagner, things like the Mickey Mantle, because of the extreme scarcity within those cards. And while Teapot likes some of the stuff from the late 90s, I'm actually a little more bearish on those cards, specifically because of the quality of them overall. When I'm thinking about cards that have room to appreciate, I'm thinking about the slam dunk, you have to have it in your collection, almost like it's a high-end piece of art. And for Peyton Manning, I just don't see that a lot. Even for somebody like Tom Brady, I don't see that a lot. But some of these ultra-modern guys like LeBron, Steph, Mahomes, when I specifically think about them, and then these cards that are potentially going to go for millions of dollars, I'm thinking that they have the slam dunk you want in your collection, exquisite collection, national treasures level stuff.
Yeah, it's a good point.
Do you have those type of cards that can potentially go for millions of dollars? Obviously, the population of, or rather than population, the selection is a lot higher across some of those players, but the quality of card is so much better. I know people really love to reminisce about the 70s and 80s. I think like the 86 Jordan, it's kind of boring. It's an iconic card, but when we talk about the quality of an ultra high-end investment, I think it's a little lackluster.
I don't know. 86 Fleer is magical. I get your point for the most part,
Sure.
and I agree with you in a lot of 80s cards and some 90s cards in general. But 86 Fleer, that's its own. It's a fairy tale. It's got its own stories.
Ben's
to
giving the comments all kinds of ammunition today.
Man, I tell you
86
what.
Fleer stinks, Prism stinks, it all stinks.
These are
They
all great
stink and
points.
they
I'm
suck.
just going to toss one out. I'm a big believer in Steph Curry cards long term for a lot of reasons, but there's a little interesting angle there. No one has expectations around Golden State this season. If they get it together here in the stretch run, which they're showing signs of doing, and make what would be maybe a surprise appearance in the championship finals again this year, watch out for Steph Curry cards.
I'm seeing it happening.
Little short-term upside there. I like it. I like my chances. All right, guys, let's go to another user-suggested or viewer-suggested topic, I should say. And this one is around what sets we think are undervalued right now and could boom in coming months and years. Ben, I'm going to start with you on this one.
So this is actually one of my favorite things to do. I'm a big LeBron guy. I'm a big Trae Young guy. I like to try to find little off-the-wall things. When it comes to value that people aren't really finding, I like to look at some of those older Panini sets that only had maybe like 1 or 2 releases. And so it's very low population, very low print run stuff. Things like Gala, things like Studio, but also there's a caveat to that. If we look at a card today like Downtown, look at the old From Downtown, from Studio.
2016, I think,
things like that. Try to be more thoughtful about if you're a big blank slate fan. Grand Reserve, just base cards, have a very classic, clean design to them. Cornerstones, things like that. And then to get even more into the weeds, and then I'll hand it over to Teapot, I think people shouldn't sleep on sets that have blown up recently, like even a Chronicles, but in the sense that there are really thoughtful little nuggets that they put in there. I'm not talking about the base cards or Prestige or the Panini base. Things like Titanium, Vanguard that are numbered to 99, or I think some of the Titanium cards are numbered to the jersey number, so Trey's like 11, and I think Luka's 77 or something like that. There's tiny little nuggets in there that if you're really thoughtful about it, you can find, and I think those have tremendous value and people really aren't looking at.
Interesting stuff. Where are you going with this one,
Well, he
Teapot?
didn't say Spectra. So
No,
he
I'm
already
surprised
covered
you didn't
Spectra
say
in the last
Spectra.
segment. My first answer is going to be a Stadium Club. I started my little Stadium Club PC. I think Stadium Club is underrated. I think there's a reason it's underrated, and it's because
No one likes
Topps
it.
doesn't Topps doesn't do quite enough to make it a really well-rounded product. And everybody knows the photography is great. They had one awesome year where the parallels saturated the background in 2020, and they looked beautiful. And then they stop doing it, and they go back to the foil. And so it's like, just put a little more design thought to make it really, visually compelling. And I think that it could really take off. Revolution's another one like that to me that is, people like Revolution who like it. Some people hate it, it's too much, but there's a diehard, fan base. But it feels very one note to me when you open it. It's like, and some of the parallels like the Groove and the Astro, I'm not a big fan of. It's kind of like Galactic or Bust plus the on-card autos, which are, really sought after. Two other sets, Topps Transcendent and the Definitive Collection.
You're going real high end now.
The super high-end Topps stuff goes for pennies compared to Flawless and NT, which in my opinion now is not even really that great of a product the last few years. And then the last one, Throwback, 2002 to 2004 Topps Pristine, is one of the best products ever made in my opinion, and not a lot of people know about it, but those cards, especially the gold refractors, are amazing.
It will be interesting if Topps can really get a true RPA going. I mean, you see so much pull towards National Treasures and Flawless and football and basketball. Can Topps do that? And I mean, there are sets that have, that on the baseball side, but they're not really regarded as that. They don't have the same level of cachet. So it'll be interesting to see if they can get that going with Diamond Icons or one of those other types of sets in the future. I'll throw out a non-sports card one. Star Wars, basically any type of Star Wars card, but maybe Topps, Chrome, Star Wars, Galaxy. They're putting a lot behind Star Wars. That is a major growth focus.
There's a great old school lineup for Star Wars too. I think
96.
96 Finest.
Yep.
Right, and then obviously
Finest.
the classic sets from 77, 78.
I think there is going to be growth around Star Wars, in the future, and that's probably going to benefit all of the sets that are out there today. All right, guys, hope you guys enjoyed today's show. If you did, please give it a like, please give us a subscribe, and check out Stand Up Displays and their awesome jersey stands. You can do that right now by going to standupdisplays.co. We appreciate you. Leave us ideas for next show in the comments, and we'll see you then. Take care.